You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Jay Sr. These are all reasons why you should subscribe to the channel, in addition to me answering your questions every single Tuesday as we go live at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, on the weekly basis. We bring you the latest 49ers news and rumors, live shows every week, watch parties on every game day, which have been a massive success this year. We give you instant reaction cuts to all the breaking news that happens, like on NFL trade deadline day. And we want to grow the faithful family here at Chat Sports. We are north of 43,200 subscribers, so hit that red subscribe button down below and join the faithful family. All right, let's kick off this mailbag with this question coming in from Cartier. What do you think will be the score of the game? I think the Niners can win. I think they have some good vibes going right now, some good mojo going after that win against the Chicago Bears, where finally their offense was able to find a rhythm. They had some explosive plays. I thought Kyle Shanahan called the best game of the season so far, and really in a must-win situation, they rose to the occasion with pressure on them. Jimmy Garoppolo played his best game. Kyle Shanahan, as I mentioned, coached his best game. Deebo Samuel was going off. We finally got to see Brandon Ayuk more involved. Elijah Mitchell with another stellar performance as well. The defense was able to come up in some really crucial situations as well. So I'm looking for the Niners to ride that momentum and end this disastrous losing streak at the unfriendly confines of Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. So give me the San Francisco 49ers. Let's say 33-30. I think it could be a higher scoring game than the previous matchup in Week 5 when Trey Lance made his first start. That is my prediction. What is your prediction for Sunday's game with kickoff slated for 4:25 p.m. Eastern? Give me those score predictions in the comment section right now. Jaydon A with this next question. RG3, Robert Griffin III, to San Francisco. He played under Kyle Shanahan's offense back in Washington, and he could mentor Trey Lance. So while RG3 right now is doing color commentating for college football and doing some work as an analyst for ESPN, he has said that he does want to continue his NFL career. And when some teams have suffered injuries, like the Washington football team this year, he has gone out on Twitter and said, I'm available. So he clearly wants to still play football. Now, the RG3 in Washington under Kyle Shanahan is no more because of the bevy of injuries that he had suffered. But as a high-quality backup who I'm not sure you're going to have to devote a lot of money to, I actually wouldn't hate it. And also, there is some familiarity there. I don't think he'd be an awful mentor for Trey Lance either. And if you want to clear the $25 million of base salary off the books from Jimmy Garoppolo's contract, who has one more year left on his contract after this year, it could be a wise financial decision. Street value with this question. Fans only like Kittle for his boisterous personality. He is injury prone, and he should be traded to get some draft picks. So from a team building perspective, I actually don't hate the overall idea of trading away George Kittle to a tight end needy team. Now, the NFL trade deadline is passed, so there can be no trades from here on out until the end of the regular season. But in the offseason, if a team was like, hey, we need a tight end bad and we think that George Kittle can bring our offense to the next level, we'll give you a second-round pick for George Kittle, I think you might be crazy to turn a deal like that down. Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly are pretty solid backup tight ends. Now, I think you need to bring in another tight end who is a high-quality playmaker or draft one. But if you get good compensation back for George Kittle, who has missed a lot of games the last couple of years, think about it if you're running a business. It might be smart to do. Roc Peebles, big fan of what we do. We appreciate you. Daniel Brunskill has been trash at right guard. It's hard for me to think that Aaron Banks is worse. Play the rookies and let's see. Yeah, I mean, what does that tell you, though, about Aaron Banks if he cannot unseat Daniel Brunskill as the starting right guard on this team right now? John Lynch said 2 weeks ago, we still believe in Aaron Banks. We still think he can be a really good player. It's not like this guy is raw, though. It's not like this guy is inexperienced. He had more than 400 pass sets at Notre Dame, and the production was there. But is he just too slow? Is he just too much of a bulky offensive lineman to be in Kyle Shanahan's scheme, which I kind of questioned at the time when I took over the channel right after the NFL draft? I don't know. But I think it says a lot about Aaron Banks, him not being ready more than it does Daniel Brunskill, who we know is a backup quality guard. Chase Senior GOAT. Wow, a lot of people are calling me the GOAT here on the 49ers Report. I'm appreciative, man. Is Kyle Shanahan off the hot seat? Hashtag 49ers. Yeah, I think he's off the hot seat. I didn't really ever think that Kyle Shanahan was on the hot seat. Now, what does fan stand for? Fanatic, right? And when the 49ers lose 4 games in a row, I was fired up. Everybody else was fired up, and I understand the frustrations. What's crazy, though, if the Niners lost on Sunday against the Bears, it would have been Kyle Shanahan's 3rd 5-game losing streak in his 5th season as head coach. So when you're now 32-40, which is what his record is, in year 5, it is simply not good enough. And Kyle Shanahan, there's no question, has to be much better. But I think this guy would have a job as soon as he left that facility if he got fired by Jed York. So I think he's off the hot seat now. But if they lose out till here on out until the end of the regular season, yeah, I think he could be on the hot seat. Go watch his speech post-game in the locker room. He was fired up, dropping a lot of MFers and a lot of curse words, and the team was responding to him in a way where he hasn't lost the locker room. I think that's of note. How hot do you think Kyle Shanahan's hot seat meter is right now, though? Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 100 being, I think this cat should have been fired yesterday. 1 being not hot at all. Let me know right now in the comment section. Ellis10, your thoughts on the penalties and drop passes. Is this a discipline issue or a skill issue? The penalties are bad technique issues at times and also discipline issues. Like the 49ers defensive backs 2 weeks ago against the Colts, they weren't even turning around for the football to even guard the pass, and they were just wrapping their arms around some of the Colts wide receivers. That is awful technique. It also does come down at some points to discipline. And I'm not sure the 49ers throughout the course of the 2021 season have been the most disciplined team. Is it a skill issue with the drops? I don't think so. I think like Ayuk, Samuel, Sanu, Trent Sherfield, these guys are like pretty talented players. So I don't think it's a skill issue. Matthew Garcia with this question. Should we have traded Brandon Ayuk for Odell Beckham Jr.? No, I wouldn't have traded Brandon Ayuk for Odell. First of all, Ayuk is the younger player who's a lot cheaper and not as injury prone as Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, the first couple of years on Odell Beckham's career, you'd be hard-pressed to find more production from a young wide receiver. But really, over the last 3 years, his production has not been good. And I know his pops is pointing that Baker Mayfield isn't throwing him the football. I don't think there's any hostility or there's a contentious relationship between the two. I just think Odell has been banged up. Because of that, his production has gone down, and I'm concerned about that. So I'm glad the Niners kept Brandon Ayuk instead of Odell Beckham Jr. Jamie Bryant, what do you think our record is going to be this year, and do you think we make a wild card? I'm still holding out hope that the Niners are going to be able to make it into the playoffs. I think they are talented enough to be a playoff team. I'm not sure if the Niners are going to be able to win the NFC West because right now you have the Cardinals at 7-1 and the Arizona Cardinals at 7-1. And you're sitting here at 3-4. Would a win against the Cardinals improve your chances of doing that? Yes. I know you asked me about the wild card. I'm just looking at the playoff picture. I think the Niners can make it into a wild card spot because they have premier talent on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, and I'm still a believer in Kyle Shanahan. So as for their record, if they win 9 or 10 games, I think that you're looking at a team that can make it into the playoffs. Here's the NFC playoff picture right now. Producer Marshall Green putting this graphic up on the fly. This is good stuff. So right now the Packers are the number 1 seed in the NFC, followed by the Arizona Cardinals, the Dallas Cowboys, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those are your top 4 teams. The wild card squads as of right now. The Rams at 7-1. That's the problem with this division being so loaded. The Saints at 5-2, and the Panthers at 4-4. So you're kind of looking at those 6 and 7 spots because the second place finisher in the NFC West is going to get that number 5 spot. And you see San Francisco in the mix there at 3-4. They have a game later this year against Minnesota. They play a couple of these teams on the schedule. These games against the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson coming back, going to be massive. Absolutely massive. I'm dead at others, including the Detroit Lions at 0-8. I don't think they're going to rally to make it into the playoffs. What I do know, other than the Lions being trash, is that we want to send you a free San Francisco 49ers jersey. Here's how we can do that for you. We have thrown out this jersey deal in the past. I'm dead, man. The Lions in the mix at 0-8. And we're bringing back this jersey deal because we've already sent out hundreds of jerseys, more on the way to those of you who have signed up, and we want to send you more. Here's how we can do that. You go to chatsports.com/49bet. That's our sportsbook partner, BetUS. No matter where you live, this deal applies, by the way. You plug in the promo code Niners125, you sign up, and you deposit $100 into your account. By using that link in that promo code, you get an additional $125 back on top of that. Lay down a bet, and then email us, jersey@chatsports.com, letting us know that you followed all of those steps. And when you do that, we will send you a free 49ers jersey. The jerseys available right now in all colors and all sizes include Nick Bosa, Trey Lance, George Kittle. Those are the jerseys we'll be able to send you as soon as you email us, jersey@chatsports.com, to let us know that you followed all of those steps. Josh Dowling, $5 super chat. My man, thank you. Gamer Dude wants to know if you think we should have traded for Von Miller instead of letting the Rams get him. So are Josh and Gamer Dude related? Are they living together? I'm confused. This is a pretty significant development because I know Gamer Dude's one of our biggest fans here. I do not think that San Francisco should have traded for Von Miller. Rams had to give up a lot for Von, and his career is really on the back nine. Like, if you're making a golf course kind of similarity, I think he's on hole like 15, 16. And I think he only has a couple of good holes left. I just think that Von Miller's best days are behind him. This is truly a win now, win this season move for the Los Angeles Rams. I love how they've been aggressive in trying to go for it and take big swings, but I'm glad the Niners didn't swing for Von Miller because, one, they don't need him, and two, he's old. Three, they don't have a lot of draft capital they can give up. Garcia Brothers, Chase the GOAT. We need to catch up with the Rams. They've been making big moves since the draft and been making it work with the cap. What do we need to do? Well, there's only so much they can do now that the NFL trade deadline is passed on Tuesday, November 2nd at 4 o'clock Eastern. Anything would have to be like a free agency pickup. And all of those guys available in free agency right now just aren't that good and are not going to move the needle for me. What the Niners need to do to get into the playoffs and go on a run here, they just need to live up to expectations. Kyle Shanahan has to prove that he's, in fact, an offensive wizard. Jimmy Garoppolo has to play like he did back in 2019. Deebo Samuel continue to play like a top-tier wide receiver. Elijah Mitchell, one of the better running backs in the league this year. Offensive line has to get a little bit better and then rely upon those guys like Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, the steady players to continue to play really well. Nick Bosa going to have to play like one of the best edge rushers in the league, like he's been playing up to this point. Like, everybody just has to play really well, and this team has to be more explosive on offense and more consistent all across the board. PA Niner Fan 87, how much better do you think Kyle would be if there was someone to just question Kyle on some play calls to keep him in check of sorts? See, like, you know, you say that, but then you look at what Kyle Shanahan did with the way that he called and managed the game on Sunday, and you're like, this is what we thought we were getting every single game with Kyle Shanahan. Now, I do see what you're saying when you kind of get concerned about some head coaches who are head coaches, offensive coordinators, and have roster control as far as who the team trades for and signs. And I think Kyle Shanahan has a lot to say within this organization. And in any business, in any walk of life, if you spread yourself thin over multiple areas, you're really not going to be able to hone in on your specialties and expertise. And has that taken some attention away for Kyle Shanahan from the offensive side of the football? I can see what you're saying, PA Niner Fan 87. Let me know who you got on Sunday. Big game coming up against the division rival Arizona Cardinals as they sit at 7-1 on the season. Niners at 3-4, in need of a dub in the division to keep track with a lot of the playoff pushes right now going on in the NFC. Type SF for the Niners, ARI for the Cardinals. Get those votes in right now. Matthew Garcia, Tom Brady wanted to end his career with San Francisco. Should we have gotten him? Yeah, I mean, it's pure speculation up to this point, and hindsight is truly 2020. If Tom Brady wanted to come to San Francisco and the 49ers thought that Garoppolo was a better option, or they thought, like Bill Belichick, that he was washed, of course that's a miscalculation because we see that Tom Brady is not done. And he's still playing like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, able to bring a Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. His arm strength is as good as it's ever been. I always tend to trust and rely on players who put in a bunch of work with just keeping their bodies up to shape and up to form. Tom Brady's TB12 method, it truly works. I mean, the guy is, 43, about to be 44, still slinging it like he's in his early 30s. It's crazy, and I couldn't imagine what he could have done with Kyle Shanahan and some of these offensive weapons. Charles Tong, did you hear about Shanahan yelling at Jimmy G during the game? Heard on the Grant Cohn show that he said, "This is simple shit. Can you do this?" I did not hear about that. I did watch Kyle Shanahan's post-game speech in the locker room following that Bears win. He was fired up, and I've never really seen Kyle Shanahan that fired up. I mean, he was dropping a bunch of curse words, and what I loved about that was his energy, the players buying in and kind of going along with what he was saying because I liked the reactions there. But also, you could just tell that the Niners as a team and an organization needed that game desperately, and that was a big monkey off his back. But I did not see about him kind of coming at Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy G ended up playing one of his best games, so maybe Shanahan pushed him. Be a baller 49er. I like it. Are you surprised about the lack of moves during the NFL trade deadline? I'm not really that surprised that the Niners didn't make that many moves. You know, they're able to make that move for Omenihu, and he's going to be a rotational depth piece along the defensive line. And I think he's going to remind some people of an Eric Armstead type of player. If you look at the analytics, he's been pretty good with his pass rush rate. And according to Pro Football Focus, his pass rushing grade is pretty good. Now, don't expect him to be the next Nick Bosa or even a D Ford level pass rusher, but a very good backup. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that the Niners didn't target maybe a secondary member to bolster up that secondary unit, but not really surprised at the lack of moves at the deadline because there just aren't many moves made at the NFL trade deadline. It's just how it works. We'll be doing a watch party for the 49ers-Cardinals game right here on the 49ers Report. Make sure you subscribe and join us. Our watch party last week against the Chicago Bears was a massive, massive success. Producer Marshall went on screen producing Chicago Bears now during that watch party and said, "Let's go Niners." You know he's a real one. You can be a real one by joining us. Really going to be a lot of fun. Live play-by-play analysis, taking your questions throughout. Last week we got almost $700 in Super Chats. I was ripping shots at Patron. Still giving you the latest 49ers news and rumors during our post-game show. We'll be live Sunday starting at 4:05 p.m. Eastern, 1:05 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe and join us.